Good morning, dear students. Hope all of you are in good health. You are happy, you are safe. So let's start with today's video. In the previous video of chapter tissue, we have already finished with meristematic tissue. Today we will talk about the permanent tissue. Now, permanent tissue actually comes from meristematic tissue only. They are derived from meristematic tissue only, and they are mature. Most of them are dead cells that have lost their power to divide. So basically, the permanent tissues are derived from meristematic tissue, those cells which have lost their power to divide. Now these cells of this tissue, they have definite shape, size and function, and they may be dead, they may be living, depending upon their location, depending upon the function they are performing. And the process by which cells arise from meristematic tissue and take up a permanent shape, size and function, this process is called as differentiation. Now here you can see the permanent tissue. They are of two types. Either they are simple permanent tissue or they are complex permanent tissue. In simple permanent tissue, we are going to study parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. In complex permanent tissue, we are going to study xylem and phloem. Now, here you can see the types of simple permanent tissue. There is parenchyma, there is collenchyma, there is sclerenchyma. So, let's talk about these three tissues on the basis of their different characteristics, on the basis of functions they perform and their location in the plants. Let's start with the parenchyma first. Now, parenchyma basically they are living cells. They are the most simple basic packaging tissue of the plant that fills the space between the other tissues, and it is found most abundantly in the plant. And they are basically the undifferentiated or unspecialized cells, and they have thin cell walls that are made up of cellulose. They have large intercellular spaces in between them, as the cells are very loosely packed, so they have a lot of spaces in between them. These cells, they have nucleus, they have very dense cytoplasm and a large vacuole. So these are the characteristics of parenchyma. Now, if we talk about collenchyma, they are also living cells. They are elongated, and at corners, they are actually irregularly thickened. They are thickenings which can be seen in this picture also. They have irregular thickenings at their corners, which is made up of either pectin or cellulose. They have very less or at times no intercellular spaces. Intercellular spaces means that between two cells there is no space. Okay, then these cells, they have nucleus, they also have dense cytoplasm and they have large vacuole. On the other hand, if we talk about the characteristics of sclerenchyma, they are dead cells. They are long, they are narrow, thick-walled cells due to the deposition of lignin. Lignin is a chemical substance which acts as a cement. It makes these cells hard. And such cell walls are called lignified walls, and they have pits also in between. Now, no intercellular spaces because there is lignin deposits present, and these cells, they do not have nucleus and cytoplasm. They are dead cells basically. Now, let's talk about their functions one by one. Parenchyma. Parenchyma provides support to the plant, and the parenchyma of stem and root region, they can store nutrients, they can store water, and that is why at times they are also referred to as storage parenchyma. At times, parenchyma contain chloroplast having chlorophyll in it, and they can perform photosynthesis, and at that time such parenchyma tissues are called as chlorenchyma. And there are also in aquatic plants another variation in parenchyma is being seen, that they have large air spaces to provide buoyancy to plants, to help them float and exchange gases, and such type of parenchyma tissue are called as aerenchyma. Now let's move to collenchyma tissue on the basis of the function. Now they basically provide flexibility and the mechanical support to the aerial parts of the plant. Aerial parts of the plant means which are actually in contact with air, like for example leaves, stem, and it also helps them to bend because it provides flexibility. Sclerenchyma, on the other hand, is quite rigid. So, because it has lignin also, so it gives rigidity and strength to the plant and makes it hard and tough to bear any sort of stress or strain for the plant. Location wise, if I talk about, parenchyma is found in non-woody or soft parts like roots, stems, soft part of these particular organs of the plant like roots, stem, leaves, flower, fruits, etc. On the other hand, collenchyma you will find in leaf stalk, below epidermis of leaves and stem. Sclerenchyma basically is found in stem around vascular bundles, in veins of leaves, even ropes, mats which are made up of jute, linen, hemp used in textile, husk of coconut, seed coat, they all contain sclerenchyma cells in it. Now let's talk about an activity which is being given in your NCERT book only. Now in this particular activity, what you need to do is you have to take a fresh leaf of Royo and you have to then stretch and break it by applying some pressure, and while breaking it you have to stretch it gently so that some peel or some skin like structure projects out from that particular cut. And then once you remove this peel, you have to put it in petri dish and you have to fill some water so that it doesn't get dry, and then put few drops of saffronin. Saffronin is basically a stain we use in lab. Once we'll return to the school, we'll be using this particular stain. Now wait for few minutes and then transfer it onto a slide. Gently paste a cover slip over it, and then when you see it under the microscope, these are the structures you will be able to see. This is actually the outermost layer of cells which will be visible. It is called as epidermis, or epidermal tissue could be seen. It is a protective layer whose main function is to protect plants from excess hot, cold and sort of infections also. It is made up of single layer of cells that are flat with no intercellular spaces. Their outer side walls are thicker than the inner walls. And in case of plants which live in dry habitats, this epidermis is thick so that it can prevent water loss, and it also has a thick waxy layer of cutin over it. Cutin is basically a waterproof substance. On the other hand, in aerial parts of the plant, epidermis secretes cuticle. Cuticle is basically a waxy water resistant layer which is made up of cutin on their outer surface. Now cuticle prevents loss of water. It also helps to protect against mechanical injuries, invasion by parasitic fungi. Epidermal cells of the roots, they have long root hair which increase the surface area for the absorption of water. So these are the various functions which are being performed by the epidermis. Now let's talk about how the structure of epidermis helps it to perform various functions. Like for example, it is the layer of cells covering the plant surface, as I have told you. So it helps to act as a barrier to microorganisms and other pathogens. Then this layer is thin, it is transparent, so it allows light to pass through for photosynthesis in the tissues present below. Similarly, epidermal tissue, they have tiny hair-like structures projecting from its surface. They are called trichomes and they are specially found in the plant leaves. And these help to trap water to prevent water loss. So these hair-like structure prevent the loss of water. Then root hairs. Root hairs are nothing but the elongations of epidermal cells found in the roots. And root hair, we all know that it increases the surface area for the absorption of water from the soil. Epidermal tissue in leaves are covered with waxy cuticle, and this waxy cuticle prevents loss of water. And some epidermal cells, even they secrete some poisonous or bad tasting substances which actually protect the plant from the grazing animals. So this is how the structure of epidermis helps to perform the various functions. So this is how it is benefited to the plant. Now let's talk about another structure, stomata. We all are familiar with. We have studied about it in previous classes. Now stomata basically are the tiny pores which are present in the epidermis of the leaf. And these stomata, these pores, they are being guarded by two kidney shaped cells called guard cells. Now, what are the functions of stomata? First, exchange of gases. We all know carbon dioxide and oxygen is being exchanged with the outside environment only with the help of this stomata. Then transpiration, that is the loss of water in the form of water vapor. And why transpiration is important? Because it helps in the conduction of water and minerals from root to other parts of the plant, because it creates the suction pull. Now the question comes, is the outer layer of a branch of a tree different from the outer layer of young stem? Yes. How? As the plant grows older, the older protective tissue called epidermis changes. There are changes observed in it. It is replaced by secondary meristem, which gives new cells on both the sides. So cells on the outside are cut off from this layer, and this forms the several layer thick cork or bark of the tree, and cells of cork are dead. They are tightly arranged without intercellular spaces. They have a chemical called suberin in their walls which make them impervious to gases and water. Impervious means that gases and water are not allowed inside. Now cork basically, as I have told you, it is protective in nature and it prevents loss of water from the plant and also protect the plant against the injury. As it does not catch fire easily and it is light, so it is used as an insulator, and even it is used in the sports good also. Here you can see the commercial use of cork, and here you can see the structure of cork, the protective tissue. Now let's talk about the complex permanent tissue. Now they are made up of one type of cell, more than one type of cell they are made up of, and but these cells, they have a common origin and they work together to perform a common function. Now they are present in complex plant and they help the plant to survive in land, on land or in terrestrial environment. Now what are the function these tissues are performing? They are basically performing the function of transporting water, minerals and food to all parts of the plant. Now complex permanent tissue, they are of two types, xylem and phloem. Xylem basically made up of these elements, that is tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem sclerenchyma. On the other hand, phloem is made up of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Now, both these conducting tissue, that is xylem and phloem, they are together called as vascular tissues, and together they form vascular bundles. Now, let's talk about these complex permanent tissues in detail. Xylem. Now, xylem basically, these cells have thick walls, and as I have told you, since they are complex permanent tissue, they are made up of more than one type of cell or elements. So, the elements of xylem are tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem sclerenchyma, which is also called as xylem fibers. Vessels are the most important element of this tissue. They are short, they are white, then tracheids. And both vessels and tracheids together, they have tube-like structures. So they are tubular in nature and they help to transport water and minerals very efficiently to great heights. Now xylem parenchyma stores food and it also helps in the lateral conduction of water. Then in addition to transporting water and minerals from roots to leaves, xylem also provides support to plants and trees because of its tough lignified vessels present in the xylem tissue. Now let's talk about phloem. Phloem basically contains sieve tubes. They are the tube-like structures, and the other elements along with these sieve tubes are companion cells, phloem parenchyma, phloem fibers. The end walls are called sieve plates and they are perforated because there are pores present in them, so they are perforated. Phloem transport the prepared food from leaves to storage organs and from storage organs to growing regions. Hence, material can move in both the directions. Now before concluding, let's compare xylem and phloem. Xylem basically conduct water and minerals, phloem conducts food. Xylem basically conduction takes place in one direction, or we can say the transport of material is unidirectional. On the other hand, in phloem it is bidirectional, or it occurs in both the directions, that is upward as well as downwards, as shown in the diagrams also. Now, xylem basically the conducting channels are tracheids and vessels. On the other hand, for phloem, they are sieve tubes. In xylem, only xylem parenchyma is living, all other elements are dead. In phloem, all elements are living except for phloem fibers which are dead. Xylem basically conduct water and minerals and also give mechanical strength due to the presence of lignified vessels in it. Phloem, on the other hand, only conducts food and do not give any mechanical strength to the plant. So here we'll finish with the video and soon we'll meet in the next class.